The Clemson Institute for the Study of Capitalism was founded in 2005 with a startup grant from John and BB&T, and our mission, very simply, is to explore the moral foundations of capitalism. And we think this is the most important task. You all know that there are scores of think tanks at universities and private think tanks around the country that defend capitalism and free markets on economic grounds, on the grounds that capitalism is good because it works, because it's the most productive and efficient economic system ever devised by man. And that's all well and good. The problem, of course, is that Karl Marx understood that point and made it very clearly as well in the Capitalist Manifesto. The problem with capitalism from Marx's perspective, however, is that it's immoral and unjust. And for the last 150 years, Marx and his descendants have captured and held the moral high ground. Now, for let's say the last 60 years, the defenders of free markets have captured and held the economic high ground. But in any battle between morality and economics, morality over time always wins, which precisely, I think, describes why we've been going down the road to serfdom for a very long time, despite times in our recent history, for instance, when Republicans have controlled both houses of Congress, the Supreme Court, and the executive office. So the Clemson Institute and the other programs connected and funded by BB&T are an attempt to, as I said, to retake that moral high ground. So what do we do to accomplish our mission? We do many of the standard things that a lot of similar think tanks do. We have a lecture series throughout the course of the year. Every year we run 2 conferences, one where we bring in about 60 or 70 top flight college students from around the United States for a 3-day conference on the moral foundations of capitalism. We also, as John mentioned, have a 2-day conference for the so-called BB&T professors on the same theme, on the moral foundations of capitalism. When I first went to Clemson, I was the Clemson Institute, in effect, and so wherever I was on campus, when I was, walking across campus or standing in a classroom, that's where the Clemson Institute was. Over the course of these last 10 years, though, we've grown, we've expanded, and I now have 5 or 6 people, staff and faculty connected with the Institute. We teach a lot of classes. My faculty and I, we teach 14 to 16 classes a year. In the political science, history, and economics departments at Clemson, and in the Honors College, and in the Great Books program. We also have a visiting scholar program called the Hayek Visiting Scholar program, and then we also have various student organizations that we run. We have a reading group, for instance. Every Friday afternoon for the last 10 years, you will have found me at Clemson with a group of students reading Atlas Shrugged. Not the same students for 10 years, mind you, but they rotate in and out. And I'm really pleased and delighted to be able to announce, for the first time at least here in Washington, that the Clemson Institute is about to launch what I believe, and I really believe it, is the most important, the most innovative, and indeed even revolutionary academic program in the United States for the last 60 years or so. It's called the Lyceum Scholars Program. And the Lyceum Scholars Program is a scholarship program where we'll give 10 incoming freshmen every year a scholarship renewable over 4 years. And this cohort of 10 students, in return for the scholarship, will be required to take 8 courses together as a group over the course of their 4 years at Clemson. And the courses range from various political philosophy courses. They have to take a course called Wisdom of the Ancients, which is a course in ancient Greek and Roman moral thought. They do a course on the American founding. They do a course on the political theory of capitalism, for instance, and then there'll be a capstone course on what we call Wisdom of the Moderns, a course in modern moral thought. What's really, I think, particularly unique about this program is that each student will be assigned what we're calling a Socratic tutor. which will be one of the faculty members who teaches in the program. And these Socratic tutors will help the students translate the theory of their classes into practical real life. And more particularly, what we're trying to do is restore a long-lost tradition in American education going back to before the Civil War, where at every Ivy League college in America, the president of that college taught a senior capstone course in moral theory with the idea of developing the moral character of each and every one of these students. So we want our students to think seriously and deeply, maybe for the first time in their lives, about their moral character, because we believe fundamentally that there is a connection between a free society and moral character. Let me just take just another minute or two, if I can, and just give you a very quick history of the early founding of the Clemson Institute. As I said, we were founded in 2005, and when I first went to Clemson, when I took this job, I was a tenured full professor at another university, and I gave up tenure and this full professorship to take an untenured, non-tenured job at Clemson on a, I'm not sure if it's a short-term or a long-term contract. In the context of tenure, it was a very short-term contract. But, anyway, my wife insisted I take the plunge, and I did. And when I got there, it was just called the Clemson Capitalism Initiative. In fact, it had no form. So I'd just given up tenure to take a job at an institution or a program that had no official standing on campus. And it was really just a budget line. And this so-called Clemson Capital Initiative there was nothing. I mean, there was no office space. There was nothing. And my first job was to usher this initiative through the approval process at the university, and which meant that it had to be approved by a faculty committee, an administrative committee, and ultimately by the university board of trustees. And my job for the first 4 months when I was there was to just do it the old-fashioned way, pound the pavement, go from door to door, introducing myself to faculty and administrators, telling them what we were planning and hoping to do. And I made 2 points very clear to these faculty and administrators. Point one was we were not going to be shunted to some dark corner of the university and treated as second-class citizens. We insisted that we were going to be an integral part of the university. And secondly, I made it very clear to them that we were not going to be some stale, ideologically partisan outfit, but rather we were going to encourage a marketplace of ideas at the university, and that for all of our events, we would invite a spectrum of ideological views to participate in all of our events, which we have done. And the great news is, of course, that Clemson University has turned out to be a remarkably supportive home for the Clemson Institute, which I'm sorry to say, simply given who and what we are, could not exist at Harvard University. Oh, wait, there is actually an institute for the study of capitalism at Harvard, but it's run by Marxists. So the good news is Clemson, as I said, has proved to be a remarkably supportive place, from the janitorial staff to the faculty to the administrators, all the way up to the Board of Trustees. And in fact, as it turns out, we were remarkably approved unanimously at all levels, by the faculty committee, by the administrative committee, and by the university board of trustees. And it is, I think, in many ways, a remarkable thing, and maybe less a credit to what we've done and more of a credit to what a great place Clemson University is.